lovely weekend. Today, I know it's hard especially if you're new to following me. I know it's hard to keep up with me because one video will be about Convid, next video will be about aliens, next video will be about anything that's the story of today. Because what I like to do is I like to use my skill, that is taking educated people, taking passionate people who tell you every detail about everything, and I try and filter it through my head and put it out in a layman's version for everybody to be able to understand the way I do, because I've got an average brain. I deal with coal miners, who uneducated people as a rule, so I've got to be able to take what technical information and legislation and be able to translate that into something that's more palatable for people. And so that's basically what I've found my little niche is for this sort of work that we do. Taking big, fancy, long-winded, I'll listen to a 5-hour documentary on something or a 5-hour piece of information and summarise it into sort of 10 minutes just to get your critical thinking going or get you to sort of navigate some of the waters, rather than taking these 10-second sound bites of information which just, it's too erratic for the information to sink in. And the reason I do that is because there's a bigger picture for me than all of the psyops and the distractions that are going on, and that is the world as we know it is compounding all of the traumatic shit that we've been going through in the last year, last 3 years, last 10 years for your lifetime. Now, for today, I'm not going to go into anything. I'm going to try not to go into anything too deep for people. Because I want you to share these sorts of videos with people that might be looking for some answers at the moment. And good morning to everybody jumping on. I like doing lives. It gets better interaction, but most of the time when I'm trying to interact too much with it, I don't have the brain capacity to answer and stay on topic. So basically what we're seeing at the moment is a lot of trauma sort of floating around all of the world, and you'll see it in different ways. My wife likes to explain it to me in the sense of a spiritual body, an emotional body, and the physical body. So I explain this a lot to the guys at work. Lately I'm getting a lot more guys having a lot more conversations with me, big, brawly, tough coal mining men that just aren't quite understanding what's going on at the moment, and they're looking for answers. And they'll take any conversation, not just mine. And the way that I explain in a few of the videos that I've been doing lately, and like I said, I always try and make these mostly about men and their struggle, because I'm a man, and I don't like to imply that that ladies are going through the same issue as us at the moment. But take something away from this, or you might be able to pick up some relativity with this with your friends and your family. So everybody talks about chakras and all that sort of stuff in the New Age. I don't care too much for the full definition of the explanation. What I've been sort of saying to everybody is, if you think more along, tell me if this is backwards. Mind. Sometimes it comes out backwards. God damn it. I'll have to go. Maybe that's a devil's inversion. Mind. I don't even know how I know how to do that. Heart. Okay, and let's just call it core. How'd that go? Core. Right, so that's pretty clever. Sorry. Right, so basically what I've been trying to explain to the men is, and this is the reason why I do this, because you can get lost in the spirituality side of things, and you can get lost in the metaphysical or the physical side of things, you can get lost in the emotional side of things, but what the goal is to understand that all of these chakra-related things, all of these energy-related things talk to the fact that we have trauma. Even if you don't even realise, accept that there's trauma, even if you don't know how much trauma you've had, we have trauma, and we, as particularly men, but most people, we want to push all of that down if we have to push it, because remembering that my understanding as I learned this journey is that vibration and frequency sit on the side of that. Oh, far out, that's not the right way around. So vibration sits down here, and this is low, and this is high. All right. So when you think about the frequencies, I say that we push all of our trauma down, but naturally it's a shitty sort of a low vibration anyway. So all of that negative stuff is low vibration, so it naturally wants to come down to the bottom of us anyway, and just packed in dense energy. And it's what it's why we see so much sort of shitty sort of stuff. So morning for those people jumping online. So what I explain to the guys is, particularly the guys, is we bash all that down into our core, because the core is our strength. And the strength part is where we sort of say, oh, that's our, that's where we're going to grit it out. That's where that's where we're men, we're tough, and we don't want to be, knocked around or pulled around too much. So we push all of our trauma and all of our negative stuff down into our core, like a tree does, in a cyclone or in a drought. It pulls all of its strength down to its core so that its fundamental basis and its roots can stay strong. What we're seeing at the moment is, as that fills up, particularly when they continue with all these psyops to cause trauma, or at least trigger our trauma, what you see is this bubbling and festering up. And the first place that it bubbles and festers up to is the heart space. Now that's the reason why we're having so much trouble at the moment, is because people are out of control with their emotions, or people are leaving it down in here. So if you leave it down in here, sooner or later you're going to have some sort of physical problem, that's something that's going to cause you issues, physically. So people are starting to manifest like the turbo cancers, the sicknesses, the all of this stuff that most likely from the poison that they put into themselves. But there's a billion more poisons that we're putting into ourselves every day by choice, not just the stuff that they're sneaking into us. All right. So understand, I'm going to talk about poisons as all poisons, not just the ones that they've coerced us into. I'm talking about everything that we put into our bodies these days, all right? So whether that's not growing your own food and getting it from Woolworths, not going organic, whether that's drinking alcohol, taking drugs, whether that's the coercion of the drug, we're going to call them all poisons, and we're going to say that they're all bad for you. So something is going to, the longer you keep yourself down in your core, the longer you keep yourself down in your gut network, all of that poison and going through there, it's going to come physically. It's going to start coming out physically. So you'll see right across this nation people starting to physically be unwell. Dis-ease. My wife calls it dis-ease, right? Because the longer it stays down there and festers, the worse it gets for us. When it does want to come up, or when it's forced to come up because it's triggered, or because it's trying to get dealt with, it hits our heart space. And as men, the first thing we do with it is we get emotional, we get sad. It's the same result as having alcohol. It's a spirit, usually when we have our first drink of a spirit, we are happy and our frequency, our vibration is raising because we're happy. But as things bubble up inside of ourselves, as our frequency rises, so too does it hit the heart space, and you get an emotional response at some stage of your drinking. It's not a coincidence that by 12 rums you're bawling your eyes out or you're punching someone in the face. That is a reaction, because you are releasing the spirit, you are releasing the energy, you are raising your vibration. So you get the heart space. And if you're not trained on how to hit the heart space, if your ego is still too much in control of you, like whoa, the ego says, whoa, calm down. We don't go up into the heart space because that's where we were hurt when we were kids, when we were teenagers, when we were something. So we push that back down as quickly as we can, and like I always say about the men, they push it back down to their core, beat their chest, drink a beer, go and have a fight, or whatever it is that makes them feel strong in their core. So the heart space is where we need to get comfortable with what's going on with our bodies, right? So we need to get comfortable with the fact that when those emotions come up, that we can process them, and we can allow them to get up to the next part where we process them into the mind. These things are obviously bidirectional. It doesn't sort of have to flow in and out of there, but that's what's happening. My understanding of it is that every single trauma that we've had and every single negative connection that we've had over the years is still energetically connected to us. I don't know where it goes. I just know that it is energetically connected to us. And so what we see is we have these little, let's call them portals or tubes or energetic ties to things in the past, all right? So they're memories, they're recollections, their source connections, whatever you want to call them, they exist because you can still remember it. It doesn't all just, doesn't all just stay up in there, because sometimes it hits you in the heart space when you think about it, sometimes you just process it in the mind, sometimes you feel sick in the guts when you think about a situation. So we know that whatever, from my understanding, whatever reaction you had, whatever sort of level it hurts you, physically, mentally, emotionally, is where the tie still connects to. So my wife does energy healing, because what we see with all these little things is, I don't know, what do you want to call them? Let's call them negative thoughts. I think they're called negative entities. I think we would classify them as negative entities, all right? That doesn't mean they have to be little green goblins, all right? They're just the voices or the reparations of the past. No, not that. What's the word? They're the reverberations of the past, okay? So there's something that continues to sort of recycle through your mind and recycle through your body. And these little bastards love trauma and they love negative energy. Right? So everything is energy in this planet. Vibrations, frequencies and energies, moving energies everywhere around the place. And so they love negative energy. Right? That's why people are always saying, oh, love and light, because high vibration is up there, so that's the top. Love is the top of the vibration chart, so everybody's like, love and light, and you have no problems. Well, that's cool, but they're bullshitting themselves, because until they've actually done the work to get rid of the trauma, they still are forcing themselves to stay up in this bullshit high zone, when realistically, these things are always hanging around, trying to find a way to get you to think about that negative shit. So you'll see them sit up here, these people will be like, love and light, love and light, love and light, love and light, love and light. And then all of a sudden they'll be like, oh, love and light, oh shit, it's hard work, I'm bullshitting myself, because the core is still bubbling, and pressures are still happening, and triggers are still available, and the heat of this planet, and the emotional sort of charge of this planet, let alone the friggery from, all of the shit that they're pushing onto us, will cause these things to keep popping up in your mind. So what my wife has been doing is she has learnt the energy healing stuff, and basically she goes through and she calls herself a shit clearer. So she goes through and finds these niggly little things in your energy body, alright, and she wipes out as many as she can. Now some of them are very, very hard to find, some of them are deeply ingrained, some of them are some of them are not easily removed, but they are just niggly little creatures, they're like malware or spamware. They're just little programs that are in there just to niggle with your computer. They just make things difficult for you to operate your operating system to work as what it is, because at the end of the day, our brain is basically a quantum computer. So think of them as malware, spyware. Think of them as something that's just interfering with the flow of your operating system, because we are the ultimate computer in the universe, all right? Our brain and our capacity to do things is beyond anything they've ever told us that is possible. And we know that because we're pretty incredible humans. Humans are pretty incredible in our systems that function autonomously, and it's pretty incredible, right? But we only know about 3%. We only know how to use about 3% of our brain. So you could imagine what we were capable of. Possibly everything that's ever painted on a wall is probably, it's probably something that we were capable of a long time ago before we lost the capacity to use our own brains. So it's probably never been about worshipping aliens, worshipping higher beings, worshipping gods. They were probably just people that knew how to use their brain. I'd like to, before I believed in anything like that, where I had to bend the knee to worship, I'd like someone to show me how to use 100% of my brain. And if then I couldn't replicate what we see on the walls of temples that we worshipped, then I might start believing that there was something higher than us on there. But until we're able to operate at our capacity, I believe that something is deliberately blocking it. So these things definitely play a part in all of that. Now, for all of those people that have been just watching, and I see people coming and going, what is commonly referred to by me is hibbledy-jibbledies. Like people get a bit hibbledy-jibbledy about me talking about this sort of stuff, particularly at work. So I usually start with them and say about my phone. Nobody knows how that phone is dissecting my voice and my picture and breaking it into invisible pieces and sending it through Wah land into your phone at the speed of light. There's probably about a second delay between me speaking and you hearing and seeing my picture. Nobody in this channel has any idea how to technically explain that. Maybe explain it, but never, you couldn't replicate it. That's the way they like it. They only allow us to believe on this planet what they can sell you. So drugs that grow out of the ground, mushrooms and marijuana and all that sorts of things, you know, they're illegal, they're vilified, you know, there's issues with it. Anything that is spiritual, like, you know, all these healing sorts of things, they leave it to the side and they put the cuckoo tin hat, you know, that sort of thing on it. They are very good at making sure that we only understand what they can sell to us. The only advances in technology is what they can tell through science, all right? So people like Tesla, who we know that, you know, had a lot of information about free energy and the way the energy of the world works, you know, is gone. And so when I start talking about energy to people, they sort of start going, oh, this is a bit crazy because someone hasn't sold me a product that does it. And the Truth Network's out there saying, oh my God, we're going to have med beds, you know, med beds. Well, med beds is just another form of technology that they've created to heal the body. And that technology, like I said, if we probably have that in ourselves, because up until 21, you know, up to about 21-year-old, our cells replicate enough cells to continue to heal ourselves, and they degenerate and degrade over the years to the point where they can't keep up with the, you know, our cells degrading, so they can't keep up with reproducing and fixing. So we start, you know, dying. Our cells don't replicate at the rate that they did when we were 20. So, you know, the secret is understanding why they do it at 20 and not at 40, and whether that's supposed to happen or whether that's something to do with the alcohol and the drugs and the stress and the, you know, all of the things that we put into our body. That's the real question, because I believe that a med bed is just something that's created out of our quantum computer to allow another thing out there in the world that we've got to pay for. Once they introduce it to us, it'll be $1,000 for a med bed trip. You beauty. What causes us need to go to the med bed? Violent sports, alcohol, too much shitty food, that sort of stuff. So we'll suddenly go and eat more of their commercialised bullshit, put it in our face, because now we can pay $1,000 to go to a med bed and get fixed, instead of working out this sort of stuff, which is how can we fix ourselves. So she clears these little bad boys here that are connections to all this bullshit, these constant thoughts, and what you end up having through these spaces in here is you end up having space. So she calls it creating space. My wife calls it creating space. All right, and people sort of think that she's healing them. No, not healing them. Treating them. Well, not treating you. Okay, what she's doing is she's just giving you space. So it would be the equivalent of me being a big 140 kilo person going to the gym for the first time and you know, giving them a pre-workout, for example. I know that's not going to be the greatest, but like a pre-workout, something that makes their body feel like it doesn't usually do, to actually be able to start getting into it and doing their own work on the treadmill. The PT's still not lifting your arm for you. The PT's not doing, but you've had something external help you have the ability to get going on your own journey. All right. It's probably a poor example. I don't want to relate spiritual, you know, energy healing to some man-made supplement, which is freaking dog shit for us. But I'm just trying to get you to this base. So I had a guy the other day, beautiful human, you know, come, and when I talked to him about 4 days after he'd had Leah's work done, he was very mystified. You could tell by the way that he was talking that he was trying to process how he felt, because he didn't know how he felt, because he's so used to these things, these little negative mofos telling you how you feel, that you're not used to the sound of your own voice telling you that you have space. So if you can imagine that all of your trauma and all of the connections, be they old girlfriends, old friends, bullies, teachers, workmates, all those things that have still got connections to you, these little ties out the back here, they're all energetic connections. And every time, this is why I talk to you all the time about God and being aware that our phone in our hand now looks like a Bible. So we give all of our energy towards our new God, the God of internet. And then all of the people that say, oh my God, and pray to God, and I'll say a prayer for you, and people that are into the Bible thing, they are praying, which means that they are giving their energy to an energetic connection to something. Now they hope that they're giving it to something that is good. I don't do that, because I don't like people saying prayers for me, because I don't know where that energy goes, and I don't know where the goodness that they say comes from. I am me. I want to control me, and this is how I get control of me, by making sure I'm clear, and I'm clear of all of that negative bullshit, all of those negative thoughts and that sort of stuff that pick, right? And most of it is just noise. Do you know what I mean? Like, most of it is just noise, just all of these little subtle noises that just keep niggling at you saying, geez, you need a beer, you know, geez, you need a, you know, wouldn't we get some hot chips? Or geez, I need a smoke, or, you know, let's have a joint, or we'll go to the pub, or all of those negative little things that are just low vibrational sort of things always are just niggling at you, and you don't even really know where they come from, but there's so many of them that they just niggle at you. Well, when you go and get your energy cleared, and when you get that sort of shit off you, the shit cleared off you, you have this moment in time where you basically reset to a point where your inner voice is the only voice that you can hear, and it's called clarity, and it's space. It's space to think, right? So that at that time is the best time for this stuff will continue to come around. Because remember, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 20 things niggling at you from past trauma and past memories. They're always niggling at you, and you might just get one real piece of trauma coming from down there. Because remember, these are designed to distract you, and they're designed to keep you in low vibration. All right? They want you to be shit. They want you to be poor. They don't want you to be love and light. They don't want you to be on your own. They don't want to run off your own energy. They don't want you to be able to heal yourself. They don't want to be able. That you need to be reliant on the system. You need to rely on the government. You need to rely on handouts. You need to rely on Woolworths to make the food for you. You need to rely on your boss to pay you the ways that you need. You need to rely on your tax agent to understand it, to get you your tax back if you can get anyone. We rely on everybody for everything because it's supposed to be convenient, and yet we're busier and sicker than we've ever been in this history of this world, outside of a depression in a war. So why would we believe that we can't heal ourselves or look after ourselves when the whole process of what we're doing is we're being taught and indoctrinated all day, every day, that the answer is outside us and never look inside us? We have the most perfect creation in the world, and we can argue for a week over who created it, but it is a freaking good creation, and it is only the friggery of what we have man-made and put into ourselves that seems to be causing it to fail, the same as the planet. Now, the planet is just an amazing thing. It is capable of looking after itself completely and utterly without us putting windmills around and that sort of shit to coexist on it, right? And now we're playing God. They're out there playing creator, trying to spray shit in the skies and trying to do, all of this fancy technical shit that they're trying to do with their HAARP and their CERN. They're trying to do things that replicate the Earth's ability to do it itself. Piss off and leave it alone. That's the same as our bodies. It is our bodies that is capable of healing ourselves, but they supply us a product through free will, the shit that we put into ourselves that makes us sick, and then they sell you the way to make yourself better. We're not getting healthier. We might be living longer, but we're taking more drugs to do that, and nobody's actually measured what the difference between the lifespan of 70 and the lifespan of 80 is. Is that 10 more years of feeling good? Because all they really did was push 10 more years onto our working life. So every year that our life expectancy has gone up, so in my lifetime, so has the time when you're going to get out of working and get your bloody super. So we're increasing our life through their medications and through their technologies, but all they've done is increase the length of time that we'll be working, not retiring. Make sense? So stay with me. So once these things are cleared, they're going to come up to it, and you're going to start having these a lot clearer thoughts, because you're not dealing with all of the other horse shit that's bouncing around inside of your head, the niggly stuff. You might just have this clear thought of, when I was a kid, it upset me that something that this kid used to pick on me at school. So I was a bully. A lot of people would be thinking about me when I was a kid, what I said, what I did. I have debts to pay to the universe. And so when that thought would come up, normally you don't have time to emotionally deal with that when you're super busy, you're working all the time, you've got the kids, and you've got 400 other niggly things in there. But maybe with some clarity and some space, you might have the ability to deal with it a little bit better, because that is the point. That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to process it. It's supposed to feel emotional. You're supposed to let that energy get out of you, because nobody wants that sticky, shitty energy in there. Energy is flow. We want flow. We want good flow. We don't want blockages. We don't want stagnation. We don't want static. We don't want interruption to our systems. We want flow. And so it can't flow, and it can't get back to where we would process it. Now, there will be 1,000 people that will watch this video that know millions times more information about high and low vibration, about frequencies, about chakras being 7, not 3. This is my layman's version that I explain to people, particularly because I work around coal miners and farmers who are probably the most stubborn people in the world for trying to explain to them how the systems work. There will be more enlightened and more educated and younger people will probably be a lot more in touch with this sort of stuff. And there may even be a lot of people that are biblically turning off to this because none of this makes any sense to any of them. They just go to their little chapel building, grab their little book, and read their book. If it's not for you, scroll on, no problems. But so what Leah's trying to do is create that part of clarity so that you can get your trauma, get your shit that you've got locked down as big tough people, and somewhere in between here is where we form the ego. Alright, so I reckon the ego sits somewhere in the middle there. You probably can't see it because I scribbled everywhere, but the ego sits right smack bang in the middle there because it is the protector of all trauma. Okay, so the more trauma you've had, the bigger the ego usually is, right? Like the more the ego controls you, is the more probably because it's protecting something down inside of you, right? So it's not usually you don't usually see a very egotistical person without one of his parents having some sort of issue or being a parent prick or something like that, or a girl, but the ego sounds like a word that only applies to men, but if it's controlling you, how you spend, how you act, how you work, the justifications you give yourself for what you do that you know you shouldn't do, then it's probably the ego doing it because it's protecting the shit you've got locked up in your core because it doesn't want to go back to that heavy heart space where it hurts like shit to deal with your past, where it hurts like shit where it deals with your father issues, your mother issues, your sibling issues, your friend issues, your bully issues, your lack of education issues, your poor issues, whatever issues you've got, we've all had them, we've all got them, and I'm not even going to go into the past life stuff, I'm just talking about this lifetime. One lifetime's hard enough, let alone the fact that we believe that we probably loop. Alright, hey Sharky, how you going? So everything we seem to be trying to do is keep ourselves, they do a good job of all this shit. They do their job of keeping us here. That keeps this shit suppressed in here. If you have a blockage, you're going to get sick. Plain and simple. Right? The longer that you have blockages in there, the longer you have negativity in there, the longer you have shit energy in there, it would keep your systems functioning, because we all know that in a physical sense that the gut-brain connectivity through gut health is now something that's popping up amazingly. But if all of our shit it's physically, and I don't mean that we actually push it down into our guts. I'm talking about the energy body that's overlaid with the emotional body that is overlaid with the physical body. All right, so and that's the levels of where you see it. Most people that are just dead to the world asleep, they're going to see things this year as the pressure comes on from the ascension comes, the planet's ascension plus the sun's energy. They're going to see mostly physical responses. That could be why you see most of the people that have had the getting crook and fallen over and having diseases and that sort of stuff, because they're the least in tune with their bodies. Whereas I believe you come back one more step to the emotional body that underlies that, and I believe that 80% of the people that are on my channels and watching and truthful and awake live in that higher consciousness. They're a bit higher frequency, they're not love and light yet, but they understand that they don't want to be miserable anymore, they don't want to be taking poisons and toxins, that sort of stuff, so they probably come back to, sometimes it comes back to, sorry I was just reading what Super wrote, sometimes it comes back to their emotional body, so they're awake and alive and high enough vibration and frequency to have their emotional body is where they feel it. So they're the ones that are going through what we're going through at the moment when we're awake or awakening to goddamn the world and shake, wake up sheep, and then you're like, oh, I don't care anymore, let them all die, whatever, you can't wake them up anyway, and then it's like, it's so sad, come on, people wake up. Every day is a different emotion, because the same energy that's making them sick is the same energy that in your emotional state that's making you like this, going all over the place, and they've got a tablet for every one of them, depressed, anxiety, cancer, radiate you, like there's always a pill, there's always an injection, there's always a needle that they've got for it, but until you actually understand that it's all energy and it's all lack of flow that's going to cause dis-ease That's their word, disease. But dis-ease inside something in here that's not working right because it's not sort of working the way it is, and you've got toxic shit that you kept inside yourself. It'd be the equivalent of eating 6 Macca's burgers and not having a shit for 40 years. Sorry about my disgusting metaphors, but you know that's that toxic smell. It's when you open up the boot of your car and you left fishing bait in there for a month. You know that's the difference. So think about that. Think about the ego controlling it, and think about what the heart space means to you. You won't be able to get this shit into your heart space while ever you've got this shit, because there's just too much noise. Too much. You don't even know which one you really need to deal with. You don't even know which one is there, because not all of these are true traumatic things that have hung around for a long time. You know, one of your girlfriends called you fat. You're a fat loser, and she dumped you. That might not be sitting down here in some level down here saying, I'm a fat loser, you know, oh my God, I'm a fat loser. Might not hung around, but it's enough negativity to just niggle at you on those days where you're like, you know, you're not quite right, you're not quite down, your energy, you're not loving light, and it just niggles at you down here. So Leah clears this shit to give you the opportunity to get this shit into here, start understanding that it needs to be dealt with, and up into here to be processed. Up here in the mind, that's where I like to say, where I think about the situation. There's some things that you can say. So like I say, for the greatest good of my higher self, I thank you for the part that you played in my life, because everything is, you either win or you learn. Okay, so that's to say that you lose in situations is hard. Right, so you either win or you learn. If you win or you lose is straight away into a victim mentality. You know what I mean? So as soon as you say there's a situation where you won or you lost, if you lost in that situation, you were the victim. All right. So for me, it's like you win or you learn. All right. So you go out and play sport and you win the game, and you know that you could have done things better, or you learn how you can be better to win next time. But you don't necessarily lose. And I know you do. It's a play on words, but it's also something that sticks in our mind. All right. So we need to learn what we do. So we get that up into there. We get it into the mind, and I say, so for the greatest good of my higher self, I thank you for the part that you played in my life. My stepdad was a brutally hard man to live with, and put a lot of negativity on me, and that was his own traumas that he hadn't dealt with. So I ended up feeling sorry for myself. Hurt people. So I pushed that out as a negative little bully. But I was a verbal bully and a comedian bully, so I got rewarded with being a comedian bully a lot more than someone that's a physical bully. They get pulled up quicker than verbal bullies because it's harder to sort of prove or shut me up. All right, so I say thank you for the lesson that I learnt, good situations or bad situations, and I say for the greatest good of my higher self, I release this from this contract, and I basically, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to cut that connection there for that energetic connection that goes out there, so that I really know, I start to know whether that is actually a core trauma or whether it's just a little pathway for some little bit of negativity to come in there. It doesn't really matter what it is, but if I'm dealing with all of these at the same time, where most people wake up and their head's just cloudy and their head's just scattered, right? It's harder to understand that. But if you wake up with a feeling in your guts that there's something in your past that wasn't quite right, something that just keeps coming up, then you're going to find out what the cycle nature of this is. So it is going to keep cycling your issues and your mistakes that you make in life. So whether it's alcohol, right? Whether it's alcohol that's been your cycle in life, whether it's drug dependencies, whether it's cheating on your goddamn wife, whether it's bloody, your porn addiction, whatever it is that's not something that you really, embrace with. Even people that are addicted to things that are great, like people that are addicted to running, they run all day, every day. Doesn't matter what your imbalance is. It just matters that you need to know whether it's a core problem or whether it's just one of these little niggly things. So if it's a niggly thing, we take that out, and that's some energy that we're going to get back, because we're not sending energy, we're not wasting energy and sort of pushing energy out to something or giving energy to something that doesn't have a part of our life anymore. It was bad enough having to take energy out of that situation on that day. There's enough things today that's going to want to take your energy without things from the past being accessing it as well. I hope that makes sense. So we continue to get it to the heart space where we can get it to the mind and we can process it. We can forgive them and forgive ourselves. We don't have to forget. That's the learn part of losing. Right, so we're not asking people to forget what people did, or forget what the government did, or forget what the World Economic Forum is doing. But we need to be able to forgive, because it's the only way to cut those energetic ties off the back of it. And you have thousands of them hanging off the back of you, because every time you think about it, every time you stew on it, every time you manifest it, you either allow one of these little bad boys to come in and give you low vibrational energy, or you give energy to that going outwards, the same as you would a prayer. That is the intent of a prayer, isn't it? To give your energy to something higher, something that you believe in. So there's no real difference in that sort of stuff there. So the question always is, who is behind the curtain? Who is sneaking their little peek behind the curtain over here? I don't know if you can see that. It's a pretty piss poor curtain, but you get the drift. Are they sad? Are they evil? What are who's behind the curtain? Because all of our energy is going there, and everybody, there's probably a real time. There's probably a real time in your life where you have to think about where you're giving your energy to. Because, like I said, we are trained to just give our energy out all the time. Everybody else is giving our energy out, and not a lot of things is able to come back in, because if we don't have the space for it to come back in and process it, that's what blocks our discernment. Discernment is about having that feeling. So if I'm clear and clean like I'm feeling today, and somebody comes to me with some information, I've got such clarity in my mind today that I can take it in, I can hear my body, I process my thoughts, and I'm like, bullshit, and it goes out the door. It doesn't have to stick around. I don't have to waste a lot of energy on it, because I'm clean and I'm clear in my mind and my heart and my soul, because I'm trying to get rid of that old trauma, that negative shit, that nasty shit in there. And not only do I say bullshit, but I don't even have an emotional response to it. Okay, so it's like, if it doesn't do me any good, then I release it. That information can come and go. It's energy. Things move through me all the time. There's 1,000 radio waves, light waves, Bluetooth waves, Wi-Fi's, everything, electrical, waves going through us all the time. There's enough of that shit going through us as it is without actually playing a part into letting it. So as soon as I can process it, yep, true, get some more information, bullshit, throw it out the door. Not 100% sure, but it really doesn't matter for today. Black snake laying on the ground in front of me, true, big black snake laying on the ground in front of me. False, it's not a black snake, I'll just walk past it, it's a stick. Probably not cool. In the middle, somewhere in the middle is, I don't know whether it's a deadly snake or not. I'll find that out later, but for the time being, there is a snake. I'm going to sort of back away from that mofo. That's the sort of decisions that you can make when you have the clarity. So that's why I encourage everybody to reach out to someone like my wife, who goes in and clears your shit. She does that with her energy, and the reason why we are careful about the New Age movement is a lot of those people use the energy from places where they aren't 100% sure where that comes from. Okay, so people out there are connecting to the Archangel Michael and all of these Palladium, all of these higher level entities, sort of things like that, to get their energy. And there's enough energy in yourself, and you can get your own energy, you create your own energy, you can accept your own energy, but all you've got to do is make the most of that energy, but making sure that this body that the Creator gave us is working as well as it can under the conditions that we've got at the moment, with all of the world's shit that they're pushing down on top of us, that we can get back to that sort of stuff. So that's it. That's what I've been sort of saying to people, is understanding that. Like I talked to a guy yesterday, and he was saying that. And he won't watch this, so I know that I won't mess up the story. Him and his partner love each other, and he said that when him and his partner are together, sometimes they have these outlandish blues, and he's like, well, "We don't have a problem, but there's this thing." I said, "Cool." So it's good that you identify that you love each other and that you don't understand why he's arguing, because me and my wife did it for a long time, and it was mostly my fault, because they are triggers. So the situation was, she might come in during the course of a day and lose her mind over the son-in-law, the stepson, not doing the dishes properly, or not doing the dishes, putting them away, or leaving a mess or something like that, and exponentially lose her mind over it to the point where she's blasting the father about the situation, and then he might be shooting back at her because he's emotionally getting triggered because that was something that might have happened in his life. So you've either got the people in their life that just don't even entertain the argument, and you're trying to get them to argue, or you are the person that is going to fire back. So two emotionally triggered people, fire back at each other, and then they walk away, they calm down, their heart rates come down, and a day later, an hour later, a minute later, they're like, I really don't know what that was all about, and I'm so sorry. And then they have this guilt and remorse. Guilt sits about here, on there, you know what I mean? Like revenge is up here. They're all these nasty things that are low vibrational things. But all they've really done, all that's really happened, is that she's had an old trauma sitting in here somewhere. All right, she's got niggles everywhere, and this trauma is from when her parents used to fight in the kitchen when he'd come home drunk and break something, or he'd be whinging that the food wasn't ready for him or whatever. So she's got trauma sitting down in here, okay? And that triggers her up to the heart space, and she has an emotional response. So, you know what I mean? Like, so all of a sudden she has an emotional response, and because she doesn't understand an emotional response, or doesn't, the ego seems to take a draw. What's this shit? Emotional, right? Stab and attack you with it, because it doesn't matter whether it's anger emotion or bawling your eyes out, whether you've said something that makes your wife cry, or whether you've said something that makes her angry. It doesn't matter. It's still an emotional response, and it's still triggered by trauma going to the heart space and not being able to process it properly. You're never going to be able to process in the moment. So the point for me today is, if you have clarity, if you don't, get clear. You can still do this stuff yourself. Don't get me wrong. There's plenty of information on how to access yourself to clear your own energy fields and that sort of stuff. But like I said, it's something new, and people have this belief that somebody has to help them first. So we're happy to help you learn how to do that yourself while you're working it out. I'm still trying to learn how to do it myself. I've been 3 weeks without using her to do it, because I don't want to have to keep going back to her to say, I'm dirty again, Mum, can you give me a clean, please? I need to learn how to do that myself, because she's not always going to be here for me. And she doesn't need to take on my job of looking after myself. If my energy gets dirty, it's because I'm not doing my work when I'm clear, and it's because I'm not disconnecting these ties as they come up. So I'm removing those ties, I'm cutting the old ties and letting that move on. Sounds brutal, but if they don't have any reason, like an energetic reason to be in your life or in your day or in your thought pattern, it's just one more thing to give you this, this white noise that stops you from actually being able to find the problems. Now, why do I say all of this? Why am I so passionate about healing ourselves? Because it's the one thing we can do while we're doing this battle, that outward battle. It's the one thing that at all time we can be doing, to be looking to inside to get rid of our triggers, because we are much better communicators and strategists, and we can learn a lot easier when we are clear. So when we're in a war, like a fifth or sixth generational war, war, when energy is key, and frequencies is key, and information is key, well, you want your encyclopedia, you want your processing system, you want your quantum computer, you want that shit to be running, mint. And if you're always outwards, that the enemy is them, and they're the only people that need to change, and they are poisoning us, and they're restricting us, and they're silencing us, and it's all them, and I am a pure beam of radiant light come from the Creator, you are full of shit. Alright, because that you are just projecting out to them that they are the problem, you are the victim, and nothing that you do, you don't need to do anything to make yourself better. And that's horseshit, because I thought that it was everybody who was around me that was pissing me off, and it really was just me pissing me off. And the more that I've healed myself, the more of exactly the same people doing exactly the same thing around me, and the more just rolls off me. Because I haven't got all that other voices in there that make me frustrated when someone asks me a dumb question. I'm like, oh, for God's sake, how many times do I have to tell you? Even to my children. My daughter can ask probably 20 questions now before I get frustrated. Before previously it might have only been 5, because you've just got so much going on in your own brain and that sort of stuff. You just don't have clarity, you don't have space. That's what people talk about when they say meditating and grounding and earthing and connecting and all that sort of stuff. All they're really talking about is creating space, and the space that we're talking about is taking your trauma out of there, getting it past your ego's control, getting it to your heart space to be able to actually process it and understand it. Like I said in another video, my wife warned me that when I opened it up and got rid of that shield, so I had to do a lot of work on this to break it down a little bit. It can be subtle, can be strong, can be arrogant, can be loud, or it could just be minuscule the way my ego, just a little snark in my reply, just a little twist of the words. I don't like that person being in control. I'm happy to have one. You still got to be able to have enough ego to back yourself, so you're not doubting yourself constantly, so you don't make a decision and then someone says, "You sure that's the right decision?" You go, shit your pants and go, "Oh my God, maybe they're right." You know, I'm freaking out now, I've made a decision and someone questioned me. You know, you still got to have enough ego in there to say, yeah, I did my homework. Yeah, my inner self is telling me that I'm right. Yeah, my intuition and my discernment is saying that this is the correct one for me. This is the best decision I can make with the best information made for me today. So when I look back tomorrow and it was the wrong decision, at least I can stand in my power and say, I'm proud of the decision that I made based on the information that was given me today. Everyone talks about conspiracy theories, and I always keep saying a conspiracy theory, a real conspiracy theory, is born in the gap of a lack of transparency provided by the people that conspiracy is put about. So if there is an incident and there is some piss poor information and there's a big gap in the incident and the information in between, that's where conspiracies are born. You give us all the goddamn details and make sure that everybody involved is held accountable, and conspiracies don't exist anymore. All right, you know, that's the way that this goes. And look, I'm sorry that there's some people here I can see is trying to talk to me. What I usually do is I get this out, and I'm sorry that it's not in the live conversation, but what I usually do is I'll jump on this afterwards. I'll try and come back and answer or have a conversation with you about anything that you've written on there. So I'm sorry, like I said, fine little camera, tiny little brain, tiny little concentration span. So I just try and keep myself up here for the time being. Otherwise, I get distracted. That's it. What do you think? So, pretty simple. Trauma rules our lives. Trauma was ruining our lives. Our bodies can heal themselves. We are the quantum computer that they are projecting out there to say that we need. We are the med bed out there that they are saying that we need. We are the medication out there that they're saying we need. All of those things are things that they are creating so they can get us to pay for it. All of them are the things that we can currently do ourselves. We just haven't got our brain unlocked to do it. I do not believe in a higher power, as written in the books, as written in the scripture, as written on the temples. I will not completely believe that they are over and above me until I see that my body is running, or at least my brain and my body is running at the 100% capacity that we are told that we are only able to actually access about 3%, maybe 5%. Some are optimistic and say we're using 5%, right? If you can cut and paste in Excel, suddenly you're a guru. If you can do a VLOOKUP, you're an Excel guru, but you're about the same percentage of using your brain as what they are using Excel. If you don't use Excel, you wouldn't have a clue what I'm talking about. Move right on. But that's my thing. Like, you know, all of that stuff that's written out there is written by people who probably weren't able to access the full information in their brain, and we're slowly but surely using it to sell us a med bed, sell us medication, sell us all of these things. You know, my brain, I've had a hemorrhage in my brain, or I've had a stroke, so here's a chip now that can put in there to fix that. Okay, well, you know, my brain probably can fix that. You know, here's a bionic arm because your arm stopped working, got cancer. You know, again, give me 100% of my brain so I can work it out myself, because everything that they're selling us is a band-aid for everything that it causes in the first place. So I think that they play a lot of games with the connection. Now, this is possibly the pineal gland is a connection. It's definitely an antenna. I've done a video recently, you know, talking about are we just human antennas now? Our heart is an electrical device. We are 80+% made of water, which means that it's very conductive. We're full of heavy metals from all the shit that they deliberately put out there, and nobody really knows what the plan is with the heavy metals. They're not necessarily killing us with toxicity with it, but for some, it's not good for us. We know that. But I'm like, well, maybe they're just creating stronger antennas. Maybe they're just creating stronger antennas out of us by putting all that shit in there. We're an electrical device. We're very conductive. We've made, what do they make us do everywhere we go? They make us put 4 inches of concrete down, and they make us wear big, heavy, thick, solid shoes. So if we're an electrical device, where does our charge go? Nowhere. It just goes up and down and here and gets around and messy. It's not able to earth. So if we're electrical devices that get our energy from the sun, or get our energy from the universe, or get our energy from anything other than the food systems that we're told we get it from, then think about the fact that what's the thing that they tell us to do all the time? They tell us to put a hat on, and I saw my friend Darryl Wilson get on here before. I don't know if he's still here, but redheads particularly, I know vampires that can go out in the sun more often than a redhead. So he'll be on here, and when he goes outside, he'll have a massive hat, and he'll have a chemical sunscreen, and he'll have his shirt, roll right down to here, and then he'll have big boots that can't even touch the ground because he's got big rubber soles on the bottom of it, and then most of his house will be timber or there'll be concrete in his shed. So we spend 80% of our lives blocking ourselves out from the sun, and stopping our feet connecting to the ground. So go outside, walk around with bare feet, lay down on the grass, get some skin contact, let that sunlight come down on you, even if it's only for a couple of minutes. Even a redhead could handle that. Correct. It's that's another thing that they've given us to put on our skin. That suddenly sun cancer's gone through the roof in the last 30 years, and yet nobody questions why it wasn't going through the sun before. And so then they go, and we go, why has cancer gone through the roof in the last 30 years if we've had sunscreen and hats for the last 30 years? Oh, climate change. Hole in the ozone layer, killing everybody because you are using this bloody phone too much and it's sending black balloons up friggin' the atmosphere. Oh, shit. I thought you were just full of shit and it was the chemical in the sunscreen, but again, it was my fault. Oh, what can I do to do that? Oh, just give us another $1,000, what do you reckon? Yeah, $1,000 each a year for climate change, and that we'll be able to fix that problem too. Okay, cool, so I'm going to wear my hat and I'll wear my sunscreen that you gave me, and I'll keep getting cancer. We'll get one cut off us every week, while you get another $1,000 on my money to go up and fix the hole that I made by using the technology that you give me to use as well. Interesting. So if anybody is watching this, wants to continue to do that, wants to continue to use their methodology to fix you and fix this, then good luck with that. Probably won't see you in 10 years' time. This is my personal belief. This empowers me to fix me, to heal me, to unlock me. And if none of that is true, if none of that is truly the way to get back to our divinity through our connection to source and soul and do what our 100% brain is capable of doing, then I promise you that I'm living the best version of my life, being better every day than what I was before COVID woke me up. So I'm drinking filtered, clean rainwater. It'll have shit in it, everybody will lose their mind over it, but it's better than your fluoride-driven shit out of a tap, out of a 40-year-old pipe, right? I'm eating as much organic food, fresh eggs out of my chickens, fresh vegetables out of my garden that I possibly can, hopefully fresh fruit soon, God forbid, as it grows. I'm 13, 14 weeks off alcohol, never felt better. It's going to be hard for me to get that back into a full-time part of my life. I'm 14 weeks off phenylalanine-based soft drinks, that sort of stuff. So I'm chipping away at making sure that even if this is bullshit, that even if we're not connected with source, even if this is just one life, even if the atheists are right, or even if I go to hell because I didn't repent to God, whatever, I'm going to make sure that every day that I enjoy, every day that I'm going to enjoy the day that I've got, to learn more, to get away from the bullshit books that they indoctrinate our children with for 12 years of bullshit, and come out the other side and just be a worker bee till the day that you're dead. And if they make some medication that extends your life, guess what? They're going to just add a few years to the working environment before you can get your goddamn money back out of that system anyway. So you do you, I'm going to do me. If you want help with that, call out my wife. Name is Leah Lowe. You can check her out on her page, or Chastota is her energy healing page on here. So it is Chastota. I think it's Russian for frequency. And if you have come this far with me and you still think Ukraine is the good guys and Russia is the bad guys, we're probably not for you either. So maybe look into that one as well. Have a good weekend. Like I said, it is all about healing yourself. It is all about looking inwards. It is all about having the clarity. So we can still fight our best fight for the outward battle, just don't be the victim. Like I said in the start of this, if you've watched the whole thing, thank you very much for watching the whole thing, but I consider it, you either win or you learn. And at the moment, we're not necessarily winning, but boy oh boy, we're learning. And the next time we go out to battle with these pricks, we're going to be clear as we possibly can be. Our system's going to be working as strong as they can be, and we learnt from the last battle, right? And so that now we're going to really make sure that we give them a fair run for their money, because last time they'd been preparing this for a long time, and we got our ass handed to us. So love your work. Thanks for watching. Have a great weekend, and share this as far and wide as you can, please. I think a lot of people need to start waking up and having a solution. Bye.